Hi, I'm Jade Greene, and today I'm on the John the Ninja podcast. Go check out my work at x.com/Jade Greene Books, or you could go to my OnlyFans, Green Queen, or Jade Greene VIP. And lastly, my Instagram, which also has my book information. And my Instagram is author Jade Greene.
Lost myself. Shame on me. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing today? It's John the Ninja live in the dojo, aka the dojo. And you know it's the John the Ninja Studios. I got to do something I haven't done in a long time. I got to make a wardrobe change just because Mademoiselle here represents the two things I love most in life, even though one of them kills me. Everybody loves the ganja, but again, I've said it once, I've said it twice. XC has really made a man out of me, and that's just what we're about to talk about. But there's other things. First and foremost, Alaska. Anchorage, Alaska, stand up. I have a beautiful Latina here that is a jade of all trades, wink, wink. Quite the experiences she's had. She's worked in government doing finances, has two master's degrees. She has been a cheerleader for the Washington Capitals. She's been Miss Virginia. She's competed and danced against some of the most well-known dance studios of all time. And let me tell you, she's done 11 marathons and she's an erotic writer, but she's also a content creator. The mademoiselle here I have is Jade Greene, and she is an experienced swimsuit model, a lingerie model, as I stated, a content creator, but she has graced such magazines such as Council Magazine, Playboy, Bear, and worked with some of the most notable adult entertainment websites, including Teamskeet, MILF, Mofos. It's an interesting story how she went from all these things to culminate here to the adult entertainment. Her real baby is her book series, where she speaks about basically a fictional life of how you can let your freak flag fly, but you can also be a good person and do good things and have other motives. It's not just being a bad person for wanting to express your sexuality. She's also on the running for a couple of awards, the MILF Streamer, Clip Artist, and MILF Social Media Star of the 2026 XBiz Creator Awards. Go vote right now on the link. You see it right down there, people. And she's also won other awards. So she is here to talk about her new scene with Adult Time and also about her books, Disorderly Conduct. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Miss Jade Greene. How are you doing today?
I am so good, and thank you for announcing me with and lauding me. I feel like I'm undeserving. I'm undeserving. I just do things that I like.
Speaking of things you like, guys, I cannot express how much joy in my heart. I don't smoke, but I love the smell. I love the culture. As soon as she popped on, Mademoiselle had the smoke going. I didn't even have to ask.
I will say I rolled this one. Well, admittedly, I've gotten to the point in my life where I do pre-rolls, and I know the OG stoners will be like pre-rolls, and it's like I'm a princess. Like I did look. I did the whole finger rolly, whatever. Like I'm beyond that. Like we are 30, 35, gonna be 35 soon, and I'm like, nah, like I'm a princess. So I'm just here to enjoy it. I'm not proving my stonerdom to other people.
But it depends on what type of smoker you are. Like my one friend who will remain nameless, he's very much more into the ritual than it is the actual marijuana. He likes to sit down creating it. That's his way to perform the art. And then you have the other friends that are professional smokers. They like different strains. I was wondering, is there a particular strain that you like that you prefer? Because the marketing genius you got going on is killing me. I'm just waiting for the wraps, the rolls, the sativa, all of that.
My husband keeps joking me about and teasing me about that like why do you not like want to do a weed strain because he grows in Virginia. You are allowed to grow for personal use. We do grow. We're outside of the city in DC. And actually, like that was my idea next is like maybe do like a Jade Greene weed strain because flavor wise, so I do actually have preferences. When it comes to like feel, if we're just talking based off of feel alone, because as you know, I'm an athlete, like I'm a hobby marathon runner, hobby athlete. Um, so I do like to, I typically will smoke sativas before like a run and tough workout session, or at least a hybrid, and then afterwards follow it with like a hybrid or an indica. And it really helps my whole workout and recovery cycle because like obviously a sativa has the impact of giving you more energy. So I can easily channel that energy into a workout, whereas the indica is so useful for like joint pain and like body soreness, and also sleep. So it's nice. It gets me where I need to go, whether that's on the track or in bed. I use it for that. And then like yeah, so feel wise, I'd say gelato, and then flavor wise, sour diesel. Sour Diesel is one of those strains to me that really stands out. And I'm talking about the OG Sour Diesel before like the THCA bullshit. I'm talking about Sour Diesel 10 years ago. Like that really pungent, bitter, but unique flavor. Like I remember that strain so well because the flavor just tasted like no other strain to me. And I liked that like earthy, bitter, choppy aftertaste that you got whenever you smoke sour. So like if we're going on flavor alone, like Diesel will always be in my heart as my favorite.
I didn't want to pull away from the nature aspect that you have because you feel very at home. There's been the nudist resort in Tampa that you've been to. You like being in nature, and I really wanted to hunker down on that. But I did want to first ask, how is your friend doing? I saw the GoFundMe. They seem to be doing a little better, but I was wondering if you could relay how their condition is.
Yeah, so everybody go check out Nali Marie. She is on X. She is also on Instagram, and I know she's on OnlyFans, but Nali Marie on Instagram, it's Nali Marie Model. Go check it out. She got in a car accident a few weeks ago, broke five of her ribs, punctured a lung, had her lung collapse, and we didn't know like whether she'd be okay or not. So it's such a miracle that like she's on the mend, she's doing better. But just like everybody else that experiences like a medical crisis in the United States, even despite having insurance, it's insane how much these days, like hospital stays and surgeries and stuff like that cost. So I'm really happy she's doing better. But if you want to go donate to her fund me, please do so because she could use your help. And yeah, she's just a super cool adult star all around. Such a wonderful energy.
And that's the beauty of the industry. A lot of people don't understand that corn stars, content creators, just like how your book's trying to relay, we're good people. I think Tommy Gunn, one of the best conversations I've ever had, but he said, we're just people. He doesn't understand the stigma, and you do such an excellent job of breaking that. We have to go back to your time in Alaska. You're born in Alaska, and I think that's where the nature aspect of your love for being out is because it's so beautiful there. I wanted to know if you ever made that connection, if you had any stories. What was it like growing up in that environment, and did it have a influence on your love for just being around fresh air, the trees, and just seeing the scenery?
I think growing up in that environment really shapes a lot of kids. And I mean, it's really cool as an adult to see parents of this generation raising their kids the way Alaskans do, which is on the mountain, on the trail, on the fishing boat. They don't deal with as much of like I hate to say it, but like bad behaved kids who don't want to learn and who aren't open to new experiences because they have such a unique environment up there where, yeah, like the parenting's a lot more like free range. They're not afraid of their child learning how to conquer fears. They're not afraid of their child getting hurt by going outside. And it's really unfortunate because I wouldn't necessarily always blame parents in that case because especially in the lower 48 like Alaska is a relatively safe place. There's not as much like stranger on stranger crime. Like there's just not up there. It's a smaller population, like 500,000 people, whereas down in the lower 48 a lot of neighborhoods aren't safe to send your kid outside. So you can't always blame like it's not just somebody's fault in that scenario. But yeah, Alaskans are really spoiled in the fact that they have all that like untamed wilderness so close to home. Anchorage is set up where like you can be in the backcountry in a half an hour, which is so cool. I haven't been to another city in the rest of the country where like you can be in downtown and then on the summit of a class 4 in like half an if you were to just drive the distance like 25 minutes if it were possible.
I had a friend in college mention a story where he was marooned on the road and somebody came and he was like, "You need a ride?" He was like, "Yeah, man." But he really got the point across of how open it is. It really is get everybody's back. It doesn't matter what the ethnicity is, it doesn't matter what the situation is. If you see somebody out in the cold and you know the next spot is a couple of miles away, it's very much more open in Alaska, which now also segues right into the other thing, Mademoiselle, XC for life. That is the most painful sport that has given me so much, and I wish I could have gave it back at the time. But I've been very vocal how appreciative of my coach has been in my life because him asking me to run as a walk-on at that Division 3 school opened up all these doors to where I'm at now, even here with you. And it befuddles me why he didn't kick me off the team. I ran every race in trainers. I'd show up in basketball shorts. I would complain about everything, but it forged me into the man I am now. And even though I still hate running, there's an incredible need and urge to have to. So you being a part of that, how did you get into marathon running? And then I also do have to ask the cardinal question, what shoes you wearing? We got to go Asics in the Johnson household.
Oh my gosh. All right, I'll start with the first question. So I got into running um pretty pretty late in life, I would say, because I had done other stuff. Like I was definitely a dancer at a very young age. So like the cheerleading thing wasn't out of nowhere. I danced competitively from like 2 to 18. But the running thing didn't come, and I think it was because I wasn't as interested in dance anymore. Like around that time, I wasn't feeling it, and then I was doing it occasionally like in college. So that was my first start into the industry, was exotic dancing, pole dancing. And I was doing that. So for me, it just became much lower on my passion scale. And I admittedly just stopped loving it for a while. So I was like, man, like I need something else that's active to kind of replace that and keep my body moving. And I started running. And I started pretty stereotypically. Like I think I followed the journey that like 80% of long distance runners take, like as adults, if they didn't start necessarily in high school or something, where they start at 5Ks, and then at the 5Ks, there are half marathons and marathon runners. And you look at those people and you're like, maybe I could do that. Then you start meeting those marathon runners and half marathon runners the more you're surrounded by those people. And then you're like, man, maybe I'll do something else. So I decided I'll train for a half marathon. And by then, I was already addicted. Like I was with the half marathon, I was at a point where I could just go out and run 10 miles. That was when I was like 21. So I knew, I was like, this is something I'm probably going to end up doing for the rest of my life. I loved it. And my first marathon didn't go well, which is also typical. I think I had such a typical journey, but I want that to encourage people to not think like, man, I'm a crappy runner because I have to walk sometime in a marathon. Like it's okay. Like it's okay to stop and pee. It's okay to walk if like you're really hurting and you just need that minute to walk it out, or a couple minutes, or 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. It's like people don't understand that once you're running that distance, nobody's judging you for not sprinting the entire way. Like I don't think anybody who's been in the sport for a long time expects that, unless they're an elite runner or something. Um, but my first marathon was a disaster because uh, so such typical mistakes. I drank too much. I went out too fast. Like I drank way too much water in my first half marathon part of it. And then once I was at the halfway point, I knew I was fucked because my mileage, I was running like 9 or 8 minute miles. I was not a speed runner. My mileage on long runs at that point was the same as it is now. Well, probably a little slower, like 12, 13 minute miles. I was a really slow runner when I started. So, oh God, like I ate shit the rest of that race, and I finished it in like 6.5 hours, something like that. It was my second to worst race time wise. Um, but I still loved it. Like that was the weird part about it all, is I finished that race and I was like, God, that sucked. I so want to do this again. I don't know why. I'm so compelled. And I signed up for my next race, and the rest is history. And now I'm looking at doing my 12th marathon in a month and a half in West Virginia, which I'm so stoked for. So that'll be my 12th.
What was the 5K race? Because you just posted about that gold medal and you said, you were stoned, it wasn't on purpose, you split 31. I'm sitting here like, that sounds about right. You'll have moments in the race where, at least I don't know for everyone else, but on the D1 through 3 level, you'll just be running to try and get your time, and then somebody will be like trying to hit you or like constantly cut you off. And you're like, all right, go ahead, bro. And then you get to the end of the race and it turns out you beat them. And you're like, bro, where'd you go? Like, I don't even remember passing you. What happened for that race? Because those moments, they're like nice little nuggets of life. You're like, you know what? That's nice. I wasn't anticipating that.
That was like, I like to compare that race to my like Tanya Harding, John Daly moment. Like the runner that couldn't but did. Like I was not supposed to run, but let me explain. So that was right after my PR, like 3 weeks after. The irony was I didn't run that whole time. I think I ran one time 3 or 4 days or two times 3 or 4 days before the 5K because I was on recovery from a marathon. And I killed it. We're talking like that race goes down in my mind as the best race in terms of like how I felt because I didn't stop. I didn't even stop to pee. I was hell bent. I was so determined. I was like, I want to finish like in a good time and a time I'm proud of. And that was 5 hours, 28 minutes and 45 seconds. And I had a pacer who was pacing me at 5:30 and we had a group of like 10, which diminished to like just me and her by the end of the race. And I remember I think 2 or 3 miles, probably 2 miles before the end of the race, which it was raining the whole fucking time. But I do well in rain. Rain is like my good luck charm. So I like rain. And she was just like, just sprint. And I did. I just let loose. I was like, oh, I'm going for it. I'm going for it. And I took that picture of myself, or my husband, fiance at the time, took the picture of me where both of my arms are up and I'm like kicking my leg at the end because I knew I'd be hard. And it was only 3 weeks after that. So I was in like really the best shape of my life. Like, as good now, but the difference is I don't have a personal trainer. I still do lifting on my own, but back then I had like a personal trainer, everything like that, that I was seeing for Miss America as well, like doing Miss America stuff. I wasn't Miss America, but competing in Miss America and doing that. And I showed up to this race. It was an appearance for a pageant. So I show up just like they're like, do you want to race? They're like, there's a 5K going on the night before. They're like, there's a 5K going on. Do you want to sign up? So I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm feeling great. Like, and the next morning I show up and I have like a duffel bag of my like pageant stuff, but I show up dressed in my runner gear. And I met one of the staff members that was going to guide us for the day. Unfortunately, he's passed since then. Rest in peace, John. Super cool guy. But he was like, I'm running the race too. So cool to see one of you. They said like one of the beauty queens was running. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. Like I'm the jockey one. So hell yeah. And we ran and he kind of did the same thing that my pacer did. He was like, you're going, girl. Like just, he's like, you pass. And I'm like, okay. And I just started, my mind, like when I'm feeling good at a race, like the wall for me, I feel it, but I don't know. There's something different about when I'm doing well at a race, the wall just feels different. It's just like, yeah, like I know it's gonna hurt, but it's not something that I'm incapable of overcoming, especially when I'm already feeling good at that point in the race. I'm like, yeah, fuck this, I'll just go. So I sprinted and I didn't even know I won. So I finished this race and I felt really bad because it took me like I had to rush to get ready because we were gonna go meet the veterans. It was like a race at a veterans hospital. Um, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna go and get ready, got ready, got my crown and banner. And we're like at lunch hours later. And this like official from the race comes up to like all our beauty queens. There was multiple, there was like probably 10 of us that were just visiting the hospital, bringing flowers, bringing cards and little gifts to like the veterans that were in the hospital. And they're like, hey, like one of you guys won our race this morning. And I was like, what? And it was like, that was me, I think. And none of the other girls like ran it. So I was like, yeah, that was me. And they're like, yeah, so you won your division and congratulations. So I won like notably the 20, I think it was 24 to 29 female age division, which I'm like, that's a good division to win. Like that's not like 65 to 70, which if when I'm 65, if I win one of those medals, I'll be so honored. But it's like, it does make me so proud that against all odds, despite being a little stoner and hearing like, oh, you have to live your life a certain way to enjoy running or be a perfect runner or be a good runner and being like, no, I don't. Like, clearly I don't. As I said, very John Daly-esque, where he was smoking cigarettes on the golf courses before winning tournaments.
No, we've got so many stories from cross country. The kids always behaved themselves and didn't break rules, but I just remember listening to the other guys. Like some guys would run stoned at events, praying to God they wouldn't, not my team, but other teams, praying to God
Yeah.
they wouldn't get tested because they did run well. Some guys would run drunk for their
Well,
workouts.
it's a mental thing too, and I feel like weed does help with that, like that mental aspect. You don't have as much anxiety because you're stoned.
Hmm. did have to ask what your workout regimen was, especially for marathons. One thing I really loved about my coach was he painstakingly, with his wife at the time, would articulate your particular PR. So what are your goals? What do you want to do? And then he would do the gradual build up. You get 3 to 4 weeks of BS training. And
Yeah.
then once you start coming down, that's when the results come at the end for finals when we kick into the championship season. What are you doing now to ensure that you're in pace? Because you're not playing online. You basically told everybody, this is taking precedence. I'm running. Don't waste my time respectfully, please.
That's the hardest part is my marathon training definitely grapples with my involvement in the adult industry. But I've finally found my like special spot where I can have both in my life and they'll still conflict, but at least I think my brand makes it very obvious that this is a big part of me. This is a big part of my brand. I don't give a shit if you don't find it sexy or hot. I don't give a fuck if people find like my athletic side sexy or hot. And I've actually gotten some flack for it because people are like, that's not sexual enough. I'm like, people have seen toys go up my ass. I'm pretty sure like that's not sexual. People have seen my face get pissed on, which was very fun. That was a blast, I must say. And it's like, how can you say that when it's like the hypocrisy there to me is that so many people watch porn, and it's the same with movies. So many people watch Hollywood movies or these mainstream media pieces and expect people to be in great shape. There's such a complaint about like, oh, like people need to stay in shape. But then there's also the complaint from the similar demographic of people that complain about like, oh, like why aren't you wearing makeup all the time? Like why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you out late partying? And it's like in a like sexy club dress or whatever. It's like because that's not the lifestyle I lead. Like obviously there's limitations to what we can do as we age, but there's no doubt in the science that taking care of yourself is what produces like good aging. Like I don't mind when like people ask me my age, I don't get offended because like I'm really proud of how I've taken care of my body despite external pressures to just do whatever other people want me to do. And I'm like, fuck you. Like no, it's that simple. I don't drink, I don't, but I love sex. So it's like I'm not shunning the adult world when I go do a marathon. It's just I'm prioritizing the balance I personally need to be a healthy, happy individual so that when I do film, I show up to set and I'm a superstar. And like I show up to set and people love my energy. They're like, oh my God, like this girl, like where does she get her natural energy? I'll tell you, from taking care of myself and prioritizing myself. I think everyone, regardless of what job they have, should take themselves seriously and like their their like health and their happiness. It's so important.
I do want to reach on the time you were working for the government, DOE, and doing government contracts.
Not
And
DOE, DOD, actually.
no, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. You're correct, mademoiselle. But you have been very vocal that when you were younger, you had this idea of you could change the world through the government. And I find it interesting with my own path and others the people I was with were more cynical. We were still of that stereotypical idea that you came to understand in government of, it's the rich versus the poor. You're gonna do some shady stuff. You can do good, but it's a long way to the top if you want to help. And the things I'm doing now have totally radicalized my perspective of that. Where on the surface level, if you care, you can get some work done, but I'm in a different field than you were. Could I ask what that experience was like? Was that the core reason you had to start going to therapy and started dealing with other health problems?
Yeah, so especially when I was younger, like I had a bunch of people in my life die very, very morbidly, but I'm at such a comfortable, healed place in my life where I can talk about it and it's fine. But I was emotionally abused through like that system, and I worked all over the place in DC, but it was good because I was doing the right thing at the time for what I thought I wanted to do in the future. So like I would never take back the experience of interacting with all those people, learning how the government operates from a underbelly perspective, like deep with a security clearance perspective. And I also worked for the media. A lot of people don't know this. Right before I started government work. I was at USA Today right before the year before the 2016 elections. That was awful. And that year to the DoD year, I had lost a lot of family members, and I remember at the DoD, I was told like your grief is like kind of infectious. Like keep in mind, this was like the day after like my best friend had died giving birth. They were like, your grief is like contagious and it's not the energy we want in the office. Cause like I wasn't smiling and cause I wasn't as like peppy and perky as like they were used to me when they first hired me. They were like, why don't you take off work? Because we don't like seeing you like this. And if you want to like do some work from your laptop, you can. But ew, like, ew, you're a nasty emotional bitch for not smiling all the time. And they would just say the things that were said to me as a young aspirational young woman, you know, to the people that argue, oh, like don't these young women know they can get a better job? For what? To be harassed at work and not get paid extra for that? Like, I'm sorry, but like I was treated like garbage by my superiors and said so much offensive shit to me. Like I remember one he was a pretty high ranking military member too. He like came out to me and like I've just recently gotten engaged around that time. My poor husband. He was like he felt so bad for me, but he knew I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and there was no talking me out of my career at the time. I was very stubborn. But he was like, "Why are you even working? Like women like you should just have your husband pay for you. Like you don't need to work." And it was like, dude, I'm 24. I'm 20. You are saying this to like a 24-year-old, like a new adult. I'm new here. Like, just, and oh, the worst things. Like, they would just say, I would walk past someone and, oh, yeah, my first day there, they crushed my spirits. Like, one like senior chick I was working with, she was like, oh, look at her. She still thinks she can make a difference. So cute. Just because I was like smiley and happy to be there. Like, man, people were so fucking rude to me. And I just like took it in stride and just like put my head down and did the work. And eventually fortunately, I did find a like decent home in Homeland Security, which I didn't expect. That was probably where I excelled the most as a government employee. I like Homeland Security. And who knows if it was different superiors putting different kind of pressure to the bottom, like less pressure versus like the DoD. Who knows like why people in my department were so chill, but they were a lot more laid back and like not bluntly aggressive like that as the DoD. The DoD was fucking hell. I hated working there. And the pride there was interesting because it was like everyone was so proud of working there, but also like so scared of working there. Like, I don't know, just like the spirit in the environment is just like, don't fuck up ever. Oh my God. Like, don't fuck up or the FBI will be at your house. And it's like, oh my God, not if you like don't intentionally try to spy, like dumbass. Like what? Why are you all so paranoid if you're not doing anything wrong? Like,
It was just one thing after another. I remember the story where you first showed up, and then I wanted to say like 2 weeks later, they laid off a bunch of people, like a huge, significant amount, and kind of legitimately threw you into the fire. You were the only person left in what you were doing, and you're like, how did you also handle that? Were you able to get help, or was it just legit, like on your own and see what happens?
I had help with my other new employees, and actually one of those brave souls is still friends with me to this day. And we just recently talked about how far we've come. That was actually at the lobbying firm. So I was at a lobbying firm on K Street for my first like DC job before I was government, and when I was more like around pseudo government, like around the government where it's like lobbyists. I was working for them, and it was a big firm. Like it was 2 blocks from the White House. So it was I'm not going to say who they worked with, but they worked with a lot of influential people. And yeah, I think it was like 3 weeks into my job, they laid off like 75% of like the workforce. And we were freaking out. This was 2014. So I don't know. I forget like market wise what was happening. That was long enough after the housing market, but something was happening with government funding. And yeah, so I guess the firm wasn't doing well. And oh my God, one of the other new employees who was around my age, I think she was a year older than me, she like pulled me in a bathroom and we both started crying. We were like, we're here alone. What are we gonna do? And you know what? It was her and the one guy I mentioned that I'm still friends with, and like literally three other people that held that finance department together, along with the CFO and then the finance director, which was so bad. And I was really upset because like I liked that job. My first job wasn't that bad. I had a really good trainer and she got laid off. And I was like, oh my God, my nightmares, the thing of my nightmares. No.
But how vindicating was it when you finally, pretty much, I always think of the King of the Hill episode where they get their old coach back, he rips off his whistle at his job, puts it down, flips the guy off, and says, I quit. He had to take his job back immediately after. But for you, you were able to drop the laptop off, say you were out to human resources, and you were able to really take care of yourself after that. It was no going back. What kind of vindication was that for you? Did you finally feel that relief from all of that stress, or was there still more recovery after that?
No, I think that was really healing for me. Uh, I don't have a lot of complaints about my 20s. And like in terms of my personal life, I had it pretty good. I had a great solid group of friends. Like I had healthy habits. Like my 20s were pretty dope. However, like my work life was downright abusive. Like, and for me, like being able to say goodbye to a chapter that was put on me by everyone, by everyone. Like when I was an 18-year-old, like everyone, family, friends, the pageant world was so insistent that this is the path I follow. This is the only path. Normal people that are in the upper class, that are in the wealthy classes, do this, and you're going to suck it up, and you're going to find a husband that's also in your class, and you're just going to live like that. And it was like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I love being married and I love having a partner. So I don't regret that part of my life at all. But the part that I can only do one job for life until I fucking die is crazy sauce. And it's such a boomer mindset. And of course, like all those people, like all those pageant directors and like my academic advisors, they were fucking boomers. They were not dealing with the economy from the perspective of someone that graduated high school during the fucking housing crisis. Like, so I knew deep down, and it's funny because I studied finance. So I was watching the economy around me and I was watching like my own situation around me. And I was like, why isn't this working? Why am I not happy? Why am I not making as much money as like I was told I would be making in finance? Like, this is crazy. And then I realized like, well, it wasn't really me because like I'm worth what I'm worth. And as someone who knows finance and economics, the market determines your worth. So if I'm being paid much more in a job like I am now, where I also get a better work-life balance, why would I not say fuck finance and move on to this? Like, especially since I love it. Like I have always been a very sexual person. So like for me, the transition was not like I wrote erotica. I was a dancer. I like was having orgies at 21. So like this was such an easy transition for me. I felt a lot better transitioning.
And congratulations. I heard about the Nvidia purchases coming back. I got a couple of some sleeper cells. I'm still waiting to explode, but that was one of the ones in the stock that your training has also helped. And you also mentioned that you want to do a course for other creators to help them understand, like, hey, this is how you do your taxes. This is how you set up the corporate structure for yourself. I was curious. I'm taking a business class now, and I'm in full understanding of how corporations, partnerships, all of that works. But as far as the single creator, I don't know how understanding the corporate structure really is translating into how you were able to get the government to give you a refund because you actually did your taxes correctly. So, what would creators really be learning, or what would you really want to stress to creators? Like, this is the key element you need to know in order to maximize your profits and continue protecting yourself. Yes.
So for me, I wouldn't want to give financial advice. For me, it would be more lifestyle advice related to personal finance, like versus buying. And the reason why is because I don't want liabilities on people's stock portfolio. I do not want people to come after me. So like I am not going to advise them on what stocks to buy. However, like obviously I have a stock portfolio with my experience. I have a stock portfolio. I have two different IRAs. I'm about to start a 401k just to have it. Like it does not like the thing about investing is like it's always going to pay dividends in the future if you're like investing in safe investments. And like I don't recommend most people. Actually, I don't recommend anyone, even people in my position, like I don't recommend people buy individual stocks unless they are totally comfortable losing that money because you just don't know. You don't know how the economy is going to impact certain industries. I mean, we saw that after the barge crash 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or whatever, where that stupid sea barge crashed and it just fucked up the whole world's shipping issues. Like, you just can't predict those events. So, I would always stick with someone that like is a stock advisor, is a stockbroker, like financial advisors that are licensed, and then like invest of course in the typical like index funds and then the IRA Roths because they have different tax usages and benefits. With my advice, like my advice would be more about like managing finances. So like I use QuickBooks. People don't have to use QuickBooks, but it's such a convenient way. And I've seen other creators use it where it's like use QuickBooks, also budgeting for travel and making sure you're getting the most out of traveling versus just like spending cash on hotels, like making sure you're at least a part of their like free club membership so that you're racking up points and just all those things. Like and reusing things. I am the queen of reusing in this industry where it's like I have gowns from the pageant industry that I still wear, I still fit into. Like my AVN gown was from 12, it was 11 years ago from a pageant, Miss Mason Dixon. I won that pageant. Yeah, like I just reuse stuff. But it's also about, yeah, being frugal and stuff. Because so many creators, like, they don't know money management. And that is my specialty and expertise is like budgeting and not overspending. Like I cook all of my meals. I'm currently boycotting restaurants for I'm such a little like environmentalist, so it's really funny. I take this shit personally and I'm really mad at Cisco and US Foods right now for just fucking up the food supply chain and feeding us crap. So I cook all my meals, like I do all that. When I travel, I use restaurants as little as possible. I either cook if I can, will have as many snacks as I can, or if I do order from restaurants, try to order from smaller ones because I don't want to fuck with anyone that's messing up America's food system.
I did want to touch on the pageantry because my mother was a nurse for Miss America for a couple of years before the pandemic broke out, and she's had some very interesting stories, more so stories of support of the girls needing help or the girls helping each other. But before you get there, it can be a little cutthroat. It's very micromanaged. You can't do certain things. You can't have your phones. You can't be here at certain times. You have to be constantly watched. And one thing that did kind of throw me for a loop was you were going to play piano as your skill, but blindfolded. And that wasn't enough to impress the judge. That kind of confused me. What are they really looking for?
They didn't let me. My director was like, absolutely not. You are not doing that. So I did that at a smaller pageant called National American Miss. And I ended up getting an award for it, which was pretty cool, a talent award for it. It's like, yeah. Because yeah, it's so the irony behind blindfolded piano is a good pianist should be able to play blindfolded. And the reason why I say that is because if you're reading music, you shouldn't be looking at your hands. So like it's kind of a joke in the piano community with like the blindfolded piano where it's like, okay, Ray Charles, like you think you're so talented, but you shouldn't even be looking at the keys anyways. So like I did it as like a gimmick performance. And I was so young. I was like 16 when I did or 20 when I did that pageant as Miss Maryland. And yeah, like so I nix the blindfold because they have so much control. So like when you win a local, so Miss America is one of the few systems. USA only requires this for some states, but Miss America, every state has like locals. So like in order to even get to Miss Maryland or Miss Virginia or Miss what have you, you have to win your towns first. I've seen a lot of girls and it sucks. You see girls go to every single local and just lose and like never get in the system. And it sucks because you want them to win, but it's like the judges and directors are like little brothers and they like the show Little Brother, they're just watching you all the time. So like if anything about you even your parents. I remember hearing that, and that was weird. Like I was told it's like directors also pick like which parents they want to put up with for the next year. So like if you have overly difficult parents, it's gonna go in your little black book that they don't tell anybody they have, but like they definitely note that shit down and they tell the judges and they're like, I don't like that girl. Her parents are like super overbearing and annoying. I don't want to deal with that for the next year and the national competition. So it's like everything. You're judged on everything once you walk through that door. Like, and back then social media wasn't as bad, but still it was like they are watching you the whole fucking weekend. They're watching you in the elevator, they're watching you when you're out to eat. Um, and then I moved into like the Miss America system where it was even worse because like, yeah, so you have to win a local, so you have to win a local to get to state. Once you're at state, you are at a venue for a week because Miss America's for 2 weeks. So they want to make sure girls get used to being sequestered from the rest of society and like, yeah, not having your cell phones. So during the day, they would take our cell phones for rehearsal. Some of us would smuggle them in. I smuggled in e-cigarettes. I don't even give a fuck. I totally smuggled in e-cigarettes. Like in Maryland, I didn't give a shit. I was like, nope, if I'm gonna be stuck here without real cigarettes, I'm gonna just grin and bear it or weed. I was like, I will just grin and bear it. And I did. And luckily my second roommate was like actually a really close friend of mine. And because I competed at Miss Maryland 2 years. So one of my roommates, the second year I was there, she was actually really cool and like did not give a fuck that I vaped in the room. She was like, yeah, I know you. Like we've been friends for like 8 years. You're good. You're good, Jade. You just smoke weed.
You
Smoke
did.
your vapity vape. Chill out. Um, and it was so awful. We weren't allowed to have cars. We weren't allowed to have phones unless we were in our rooms. We had rehearsals all day unless we were competing. So we'd never have our phones. We were allowed visitors for like an hour. It was like jail. We were allowed visitors from 11 to 11:30 at night in a specific designated conference room they gave us at the hotel. And that was awful, man. Like the judgment and I made a lot of friends and I still have some friends from the pageant world, but even they would agree that back then, like the way the staff treated girls was, well, and we weren't even the only ones. Like if you look at that year of pageantry, that era of pageants was bad. I mean, that was when I remember Sam Haskell got overthrown. Everybody overthrew him. We overthrew him. He was the CEO of Miss America because he was going around like talking so much shit on his title holder. He was like Mallory Hagan's getting so fat and like people were pissed about it. So we kicked him out. We were like, dude, like she's your title holder. Like shut up. Like stop dissing your own organization. Are you stupid? Like you're gonna lose donors that keep that organization afloat. It's the Miss America is the largest scholarship provider still to this day of women over the NCAA. That's how much money flows through the Miss America system. Is that it outspends the NCAA for women's scholarships. So when you're talking about that much money, it's like this shit really needs to, they can't be judging based off of like lifestyle. This needs to go to people who are the best students, who are the best athletes, who are the best piano players or like clarinet players or whatever. So like I was really pissed about that whole system where it's like, why aren't we just judged on what's on stage? Like, why can't you just judge us based on what you see in the competitions versus like all this other stuff they don't tell girls that they're being judged on. So if you don't find out that inside knowledge, you're never going to win. Like it's a system designed to be elitist and classist.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were one of the, if not the first Latina to compete and win, and one of the open, at the time you were saying lesbian. I know you're ethically non, I'm sorry, non-monogamous. And at the time you liked both sides, but it was definitely women preferred when you got back into the industry. That resparked your love for men. Was that correct that you were the first and you pretty much could be seen as the template for more inclusion in the pageants?
No, so I wasn't for Maryland. I was for Virginia US International, but that's the thing is there's so many systems and fortunately Latinas do lead like that out of all sports and industries. Latinos win a lot more beauty pageants than any other country. I mean, the most prominent winners, especially of like if you're talking Miss Universe on the international scale, um, which I'm kind of glad I never competed at because then you get into like month-long pageants. Like you are stuck with these people for a month dictating your life, like with no control and no rest. Like pageants, you don't get rest because you go to bed at midnight, you wake up at 4 a.m. to get professional hair and makeup done every single day. That's not one day, that's every day because you want to make sure you have to look perfect the entire time. It's not like at least in the porn star world, one thing I love about it is like AVN. I felt a little weird like walking in and out in sweats, but I was like, you know what? No, I don't feel weird. Like this is for everybody. Like I'm allowed to be in sweats like outside of the expo floor where it's 20, I think it was like 35, 40 degrees one day in Vegas. I'm allowed to wear sweats in that.
Could I
Like,
could I ask, because I just made this revelation. So, what is the difference between the joy of sex when you've openly stated that you like being cucked, you liked the degradation sex, yet I see this more of a BDSM style with the mental aspect of the, you're not good enough and this and that. And for somebody who isn't as well versed and experienced as the openness and the experiences of sex, how does the mindset differ from a sexual experience and being called and treated a certain way versus the work environment? Is it more so just the added pressure of like my livelihood is on the line, or is there a little bit more nuance to that?
well, I'm a switch. So I am a full-on switch. And most of my scenes in mainstream porn are definitely like more submissive. But I've had some aggressor scenes and I like both. So like for me, it's a balance. And there's time and space for me to be degrading and be the one doing the spanking or doing the spitting. But I'm a very fair partner. I like it back. So yeah, I like that like rough to me, the ideal like rough sex is that Mr. and Mrs. Smith like just beating each other. Borderline trying to kill each other.
But it's just so fascinating how your writing, your love for writing really brought you into the industry. And I wanted to know when you started writing, you said one of the hardest things is editing. And I wanted to know how you were able to actually pinpoint because when we think about, oh, I wrote something, some people just write something down in a journal. Some people just don't understand how you truly can construct a novel, a work of fiction. And you've done a pretty brilliant job of not only setting up the universe for this, but you've also made it something easy to follow, which is extremely difficult. That's one of the things as far as writing I love. Like, can I follow it? Is it like Tarantino where it drags me in? Is it like Lee Child where I just want to see what happens next? So for you, what was interesting and what did you learn about your writing through the editing process now that we moved on to the book?
I learned to appreciate being more descriptive. My writing style tends to be pretty blunt, just like how I talk. However, like with writing, you want to give people a beautiful canvas that's just filled with mental images, and I want to give that to my readers. So I use the time writing the draft to put out the points, to put out because that's my natural style of writing. It's a very blunt, straight to the point. So I start with that. I start with let's get the story, let's get the bones of the story, the plot, the body, the ending, the climax. Let's get all of that stuff done first. I typically do. And then when it comes to editing, that's when I really put in the scenic magic because did you read my first book, or which book of mine did you read? I must ask.
You know, I do a little bit of everything. Just to do another plug, everybody head over to disorderlypublishing.com. You can get the first chapter for free. Miss Green will read it to you. It's pretty fantastic. But it will give you an idea of what you're dealing with. It's tongue in cheek, but it's 100% definitely an interesting read as long as you stay open to the idea. Like we said, you can be a freak and still have good intentions. So I've dabbled in a little bit of the books. I wasn't able to get the third edition.
Third one is out. That one came out like December, so a year and a month ago.
And that one took more time. I think the second one was like 2 weeks you were able to knock it out, and then the third one you took the 3 months. I wanted to know, as far as developing these characters and developing people, you've stated there are certain individuals that you've drawn on for the characters, the protagonist you take a lot for. Who was the one that you did the most tweaking to, the more realizing who they are? Some actors say they had to get into the mind of the person they were playing. Some writers really have to figure out like, okay, what is this character? And then they end up having these ideas of like, oh, this is who they need to become. Who's the one you had to tweak the most in the book series?
I loved writing Gerald. And he's still to this day, like, I mean, I'm on my fourth book now, and he's still my favorite character. He's my favorite love interest because he represents like such a balanced masculinity, such a like a healthy and positive representation of masculinity. Because even though like my protagonist is a feminist, I'm a feminist, a queer feminist, there's no lack of appreciation for men in the books. Ari loves men. Like I adore men. Like parallels to me, and I love men. I love women. I don't have like an innate hate for men, and I had such positive dating and sexual intimacy experiences in my 20s that I wanted to portray that. And I hate this idea like, oh, like it's such a fantasy. Like, no, it shouldn't be a fantasy. Obviously, there's some parts of like love and sex represented in media that is fantasy, but I don't think it's fantasy to have a sexual experience with a group of your friends and enjoy it and have a good time. Like, how is that fantasy or weird or fake? Like, you don't have to write it in a way that's like, oh, like they were all proposing to me. Like, that's not my MO. Like, Ari's all about sex, but like, you can have that experience and it not be exploitive and it not be painful or weird or like, it can just be fun and enjoyable and lighthearted. So I really wanted to portray that. And when we get to the third book. So Gerald is a character in the second and the third book. He is one of Ari's love interests, one of Ari's many love interests. Man, I want to do a reel of her body count because I think it's so funny. She just fucks and loves so many people. She's such a little lovable, fuckable person. It's great. Um, and yeah, like he starts off as like this kind of stoic character, like very typical of men presented in, but then he opens up and once Ari gets to know him more, he is a little bit more emotional. He's more expressive. He's more willing to give her that like boost of confidence and be sweet to her versus like being withheld. So it's nice to see that change in him. And then I gave him so many good characteristics. I made him hot. I made him smart. I made him like every wonderful masculine thing I could think, like just such a good leader, so on top of things. Like you can count on Gerald, best character in the whole book. I would trust my life with Gerald.
Send me that list so I could put that on the Tinder profile, please. But
Strong. I'm a manly man who loves women.
I don't
No,
know what
for
more they
real.
want. I don't, I yeah, all the things, and it's like you got all the things, and then you're missing something.
Women like balance. Like I feel like we like both. Like obviously we don't want someone who's like spineless and overly emotional, but like yeah, be able to say like you're beautiful, hun. Like oh, man in touch with his feminine side. Like you're beautiful. Want to go on a picnic? Hell yes. Like yes, I do.
I mean, I think it's just so much of a dating pool, and there's so many expectations, whether or not a person grew up a certain way religiously, whether or not they see the media. I have seen a dynamic where you could have somebody that hits all the marks, or they could be in the middle. They could have it all. They could like fishing, they could like hunting, but then they could like rock, then they could like rap. They're just, they hit everything, but because one's not lacking or there isn't one thing there, there's this stop. So it's interesting to see how society is dealing with that in the States. Around the world, it still seems pretty open of like, oh, let's give it a try. Let's see if love, other than finances, is going to win this one out.
Think that's such a city problem though. And I hate to like chalk it up to that, but I feel like it is because I've lived in the country, I've lived in the city. All my country friends have gotten married or like have kids. Like they do. Like they already be having kids. Like one of them has been married and was thinking about getting married a second time. Like when I look at my city friends, like maybe two of them have been engaged, maybe like I think one of them got married. But like that's the thing is the culture's so different where it's like, yeah, I think there's a high bar, but I think it's also like ADHD dating, like where people think that there's a better than and they want to measure a partner in stats and it's like you really need to measure your partner and I know because I've been in a 13-year marriage so it's I'm successful at that I can confidently say I'm successful at relationships that I've had a 13-year successful relationship and a lot of people don't realize like the best way to tell if somebody's for you is how they deal with a catastrophe in the relationship and how you guys deal with like a hard time, because you're not going to know that person until something crazy fucking happens. It's out of both of y'all's control and one of you needs help and the other one can give the help. And it's like a lot of people think that like that's a red flag. And it's like, no, everybody has car crashes. Everybody ages. Everybody gets injured. Everybody might get laid off. Like there are so many things. Everybody might have a fucking family member die the first year of your relationship. Like, and it sucks. Like that's such a bummer when shit like that happens because it inevitably impacts people's intimacy and people's stress levels and how people react. I was a mess. Like when I was dealing with complicated grief, I just would like wake up, realize how many people in my life were dead and how many I would like one weird complicated grief thing that like, man, I was such a little like goth girl internally. I was like, can I have this many people left to live or whatever? I would like count in my head. I'd be like, this many people left before I have nobody else to love. And man, I look back, I was such a little soft girl, but like running and like coming into the adult industry, having my husband there through, having a partner with me through that to really feel with me that like, wow, like my partner is so struck by grief, like, and just being able to sit with me and give space for me to grieve and not judge me for it and not look at me as someone that was like a red flag because like I was sad that I lost a lot of people in my family and stuff. And I think a lot of people hit that point with their partner and they either get annoyed or give up. Yeah, like they see the behavior itself as a red flag where they're like, how dare you not be anything but happy and excited to be with me nonstop? How dare you like have emotions outside of the relationship that impact the relationship? And it's like, but that's like, how do you think married couples stay together? It's like, obviously they have to stay together through all the bullshit, even though the bullshit's yucky and painful and smelly, but you deal with it and clean it up and then you move on. That's how good marriages last.
I was told the top three: money, sex, and living together. If you get two out of the three, you'll be okay. If you get all three, you're fantastic. But
Yes.
he has been there for the key pivotal moments of your life, not just the stress of losing family, not just through the work, but also the cancer scare, which you overcome. Just all these things, he's been supportive. I wanted to know, what do you think you bring to his life that has been just as meaningful to you? Because you keep him on the down low. You don't talk too much. But it's just so evident from prior interviews, prior interactions, that he truly has made that strong commitment. And sometimes when you're in a relationship, somebody treats you so well, you're like, I don't know what you're getting out of me, but thank you. How do you feel that dynamic evens out?
Oh God. Well, I was always a diehard for him. And we went through, God, we're so old school as a couple. I mean, it's weird because like I'm such a queer feminist that my dating history reads like trad wife. Like I met my husband at 23, got married at 28, like or I met him at 22, got married at 28, like pretty trad wifey if you ask me. And like, but like I think also I've pushed him like so much and like when he got laid off, so oh God, our worst relationship story. So I got laid off and then he got laid off the next day. I shit you not. That happened to me when I was working with the DoD. My contract was up and like they were telling me, they were implying they had another contract for me. That was during like the 2016 election. So finances weren't there. I ended up getting laid off. He got laid off by his company the next day. We were like newly engaged. We were like probably 6 months engaged. And we were so freaked out. Like, but I got a job like pretty quick after that. Like I had so many friends at that point in like DC. So like I had a friend help me get another government job and Homeland Security. I got my Homeland Security job, was fine. And yeah, like I ended up doing like side gigs on top of that until he got a job, which was like I think it took him like three or 4 months. Like it took him a bit and just worked my ass off. Like really did that. So he knows he has a loyal life partner. And God, we've been to the hospital so many times. Him and we're such old people for 35-year-olds. We've been to the hospital a lot for shit. I'm dead serious. Like, he recently had a cancer scare. Yeah, like he had to get his gallbladder removed and it was terrible. Like he was not doing well. They put him on all these medications. Finally, they were just like, we're just gonna remove it. And I was there for him. He was not doing well. And even in the past, like when he was really sick, like just always helping him out. And then also I pushed him. Like when he did end up getting like a new job, like dealing with that layoff, I've always pushed him to like do things that he wants to do and be better and like go for his career. And I wish like, oh my God, in my dream scenario, I wish he would just quit his job and become a porn star with me. But like at the same time, I'm like, if he quit his job, I wouldn't want him to just do another job just because I want him to do it. Like, I'd want him to move on to something that he wants to do, whether it be porn with me or whether it, whatever, content creator, like safer work content creator, whatever. Like, so I think having that like life partner that's just always there and gives a fuck. We're best friends. Like, gosh, we hunt together. We used to fish together, but the weather has been shit, so we don't fish right now. It's snowing outside, so we're not fishing currently. And yeah, so best friendship, commitment, loyalty, and just being there for each other.
Again, back and forth, you guys are always paying it forward for the other person, which I love. As far as the industry is concerned, because again, you started writing and made an OnlyFans, only makes sense to promote the book. And then it was XBITS 2024. You went, networked, and then when you left, you said, you know what, I think this is the way to go. And you've really dove head first. You just did a scene with Adult Time, and it was a VR experience. I wanted to know what was that production like? Because I don't know if anybody else has had the goggles yet for the VR, for the PlayStation. It is a wild experience when it's done right. So I wanted to know what was it like working with Adult Time, and then what was your experience as far as trying to navigate the camera work so the VR for the POV would work seamlessly for the scene.
That was only my like second or third VR shoot. It was really fun. I really liked the director, and I was lucky. My co-talent was someone I had already collabed with multiple times and worked with on set, Nikki Rebel, and he was wonderful. Now he had to wear the camera, so like of course because I'm featured and he is the stunt cock, he had the camera over him. But it still was a lot of fun, and like you're just supposed to stare at the center between both cameras, so you're not supposed to stare at like either camera when you're looking at it. So that was like the slight difference. But I had a blast, and I am so glad it finally came out because yeah, like I've never done adult time. That was my adult time debut, and I really hope they shoot me more.
Such a fast growth. One thing, it was like a year ago, you did not have as many followers on Instagram. You didn't have as much going for you, and all this hard work is starting to really explode you with these nominations, especially at, again, XBiz, all these things that you're going for. For you, what would be the most meaningful win from the fan vote out of the three that were already mentioned? Is there a particular one? Is it, Mira, I gotta ask, is it gonna be the MILF one? Which one do you really, really want?
Oh, I want the MILF one because like even though I'm a newcomer, like if I get nominated for like the MILF Awards, it will feel more like I'm not just like an amateur. Even though like being nominated in itself, like I definitely feel like I'm past the amateur stage because it's like, man, to have an AVN fan nomination, I actually have my badge on my fireplace or on my old fireplace because we removed it to make brick facade and just kind of make room for the TV. But I have it right above my TV on my fake mantle. And I love looking at it every day. Like, I'm a fan nominee. And oh my gosh, I was so stoked to get my Cammy Award. Yay!
Yeah, push it close to the camera. Let's get that in-depth
So
view.
excited.
There we go. Is
Yes.
up till now, is that the most vindicating win you've had? Because the stories you have as far as of just there's always something in every career field where it was like the win of wins. Back to the piano contest where you won that. And that was a lesson like, oh, I can do anything. I can if I hunker down. One story I really love is the cheerleading you did with the Washington Capitals, and you got called first for people that aren't well known. That means, hey, this is cream of the crop. This is the standard. Ladies after, pay attention. But you said that was such a big win, and it was because you had to put a year's worth of work in. You had to get back into dancing. What would be that award for you in adult entertainment and in the corn industry that you're most looking for? Like, if I could just do this, maybe work with somebody, work for this company, or win this award, what would be a vindication, validation on those levels of life achievements that you've already built?
I would say like I would definitely want to work with like hentai or vixens. I'm a huge nerd, so hentai, of course, like the tentacle stuff and the cosplay, absolutely. Vixens, simply because like they make such beautiful porn. I mean, like here everybody knows Vixens is one of the best in the industry for sure, if not the best. So I would love to work with them. I would love to win, like, or even just be nominated. It would be such an honor to be nominated, like, for either an XBiz or an AVN for the Female Potty Performer of the Year. I would be so stoked. And rising newcomer. So this year I was nominated, fan vote nominated for AVN's Hottest Studio Newcomer, which was such an honor. But as I said, once I'm in those Performer of the Years, like MILF of the Years, I'll feel like, wow, like it's the next step.
You have done Red Cross. A lot of it was pageant work, and you've done different deployments, you've done different things. And something you said that I absolutely loved. A long time ago, this is a story I tell my friends, but I don't put it out there often. I finally had enough money to buy my mom a Christmas present. At the time, my dad's gotten better, but he's a little scarred from Christmas stories, so he wasn't a Christmas guy. So finally, I got my own money, got my mom a gift. I painstakingly like snuck through the house to wrap it, put it under the tree. And you know what? It was funny when she opened the present, it was exactly what she wanted. I was expecting this like relief of happiness, and then she kind of just got really, really angry. Now, mind you, people, she's in the military. She had a lot of other stresses in life going on, so it's not that she's just crazy and that it was legitimate crash out. But I'll never forget. She's like, "Oh, who got me this? Who wrapped this in the wrong wrapping paper?" My face just dropped. Like, wait, what? And she was like, "Who wrapped it? I do all this work." And I was like, "Mom, isn't it the thought that counts?" And you were like, "Who told you that?" You did. Like, the thought doesn't count. And we joke about it now, but you said something in relation to giving. And it was a person in need truly does not care what the intention of the person giving is. They don't care if they're doing it for clout or they don't care if they truly mean. So I wanted to know, what was that story? Where were you at when you learned that lesson? And then was there a moment where that thought kind of came back to you working a, sorry, deployment?
Well, I got a lot of flack personally just for like being in pageants and doing community service. And what was interesting is one thing I'll give pageants credit for is it does foster a love for serving your community. And that is definitely what influenced me, where it was like, man, like I do want to care about something. Like I remember like so many people think the community service thing as a teen is lame, but I think when you kind of force it on teens where it's like you can't do this activity without it, teens learn. Like they learn, they make that like first connection of emotional maturity in their brain where it's like, oh, not being a shitty human is really cool. Like it's cool to like help people. Nice. And so like that really fostered my love for it. And even now, like I try to spend one of my favorite things to do on my birthday. If I'm near a beach, I'll do like beach cleanups and like park cleanups because like I like to keep things nice and like keep neighborhoods nice and keep the environment good. And I think just I realized too, like what healed me also from like dealing with all the stress of like 20s fulfillment and existentialism and the government was like realizing like, hey, like yeah, I could make a difference. I could make a difference doing this stuff. So it's like even if people do like think people have that intention of halo effect or like appearing good, it's like a lot of people that do that because they're required to, whether it's like a punishment, whether it's a punishment for like a juvenile or somebody just breaking the law, or whether it's for a pageant, or whether it's for a politician trying to get votes. It's like you still are making a difference. And like a lot of people, I feel like my experience is very universal for most people that do have to volunteer if they just don't do it on their own accord, is they learn to love it. They're like, wow, this is such a effective way to help people without having to have a position in office, without being a billionaire, without being the most popular person that you know. Like you don't have to have clout and money and influence to make a difference in the world. So I love volunteering for that. It's my favorite.
During the 2024 season, Florida got hit with the two hurricanes, and I have family down here, and it was such a blessing for my family for them to be okay. But literally, right across the street, you got trees on homes, destroyed roofs. People were devastated, and it's hard to articulate to people the amount of spiritual stress that has on a person. You might be keeping it up all together in your mind. You might be thinking clearly, you might be okay and calm, but there's such a heaviness to that situation. And I was able to come down and help a very tiny bit, but you could just feel that negativity. I was wondering, because you did mention you wanted to go down and help. Were you able to help with the Red Cross? And were there any situations with them, any deployments where you really felt like I'm happy I was able to help bring a little bit, it was a lot of relief, but just to give somebody a smile, just to break them away from that for 5 seconds.
Irma was that way. Like, so I served in Irma and Maria. So in the Keys, Key West for Hurricane Irma, and then in San Juan, but then all over Puerto Rico for Hurricane Maria, because some of the towns were so cut off in the mountains that like sometimes our trip to send out supplies would be like 2 hours away. And I mean, on both trips, like any possible way we could help families more than we already could, like we would just get so creative. Where it's like, especially in Irma, oh my God, we were so lucky with the churches down there because a lot of the churches in Key West, during that time, they had generators, which made a huge difference because while the power was still out in a lot of buildings and the power grid was still being repaired, we had churches that were willing to help us out with food for the families affected. That was huge because like we also had FEMA mobilized, but it's like FEMA and Red Cross only have like so many resources in Southwest Florida. Like they have a lot of resources, but they might only have like supplies in house prepared for like 1,000 people. And when you have that huge scale hurricane where it's like all of the island's residents are impacted, you need more than like the standard supply. So that was just really nice that like not just the Red Cross and not just FEMA, but like reaching out to those other surrounding organizations of like, hey, we really, really need your help. There are people here that need to feed their kids and they can't even cook for their kids. The grocery store is out of supplies. Like, is there any way you can help us? And we had quite a few churches and community centers that did have generators step up and help us. So that, oh God, like if you ever want to restore your faith in humanity, go to a natural disaster, join a humanitarian mission, and it will totally give you a strong love. Like it really impassioned me for the human race and wanting to do well. Even now, like as I said, I still do beach cleanups. Like I do certain things. I do protest. I won't say for which person or who. I do protests
Wink,
to
wink.
help people. So I still try to make a difference, like in any way I can.
But it's also so healing to you. I can't stress how easy it is, people. You can go on any website, you can do it locally, or you can run away. That's what I was trying to do. The good Lord says stick
Yeah,
around.
just deploy, run away.
Fine, but Mita, I was on my way to Philly driving, something said don't go, and I was like, nope, nope, that's not me overthinking it. That was pretty straightforward. And then COVID happened, so I dodged a bullet. I have to ask about the OnlyFans, the VIP now, because Mademoiselle, there's a story that keeps on popping up. Sex in a graveyard, flashing people on runs. I know that was at the nudist resort, but there's little intricacies in the OnlyFans that are actually different. Could you talk a little bit about how you're personalizing your OnlyFans? Because it has been notarized. It has been be like, hey, that's a little different. It's not the usual clip and bait.
Yeah, I try to keep it very real. I mean, and it's funny, like that's how my writing is too. I try to include realism in my art because obviously I want things to appear beautiful and to appear awesome. And like I want people to have open shots, but at the same time, I want people to understand what like real sex looks like. And I like that about like BTS stuff because then it really shows like a deep dive into like how I interact with my co-talents during collabs and like before collabs, like how we prepare each other. And I've started to include that, like the simple act of keeping lube in the frame or showing the audience instead of cutting it out, showing the audience me helping my male talent get hard. Like, so that guys can see, like, oh, like soft dick is okay. It's okay to have soft dick when you go to fuck a girl. Like, a girl can help you out. Like, if a chick or dude is into you, they'll help you out. Like, I try to have that realism because, I don't know. It's not that I don't like mainstream polished beautiful porn. I do. It's just that I think there needs to be a balance out there so that people get more diversity and don't feel so weird about situations that are pretty normal that happen every day in normal sex.
You said you loved running because you're an introvert and it gives you that time. And it can give you that time to recharge and refresh your mind. But the way you articulate certain things and look into things. It was very much along the lines of acting. You know, actors look into the fine details of how the body moves and something like that. Is that a pursuit that you're going to go down? Because you are on a professional mainstream acting agency website. So I wanted to know if that was a future goal along with trying to continue in an adult entertainment.
I do love acting, but it's one of those things where it's like, if I never get that far into it, I'm fine with what I do now because it is a style of acting. I mean, what's nice about mainstream shoots is I do get that, and I get to have scripts, and I get to have like characters that I play that I wouldn't play in, some of the content that I make or different indie like gonzo content. So I like that. I think that part of it's enjoyable. It's more so just to like see where my creative brand goes. I think the beauty about being in the industry and having this like kind of freedom is that I can really utilize my time and branch into different things like with my book, and making sure I incorporate that, being able to bring my books to conventions and stuff like that to, yeah, reach every type of horny audience all over the place.
So, Maida, you mentioned something. You said you were a nerd, and I do not classify nerd just by intelligence. I do really look into how much a person knows pop culture, what do they like, Star Wars, of course. But one thing you said that really fascinated me was you gave up gaming for books. And I could not, I love reading, I love gaming. Gaming's always winning. I feel like at this point in the world, the games are a little bit more, theatrical, and books aren't just don't have the staying power like the old classics do. But I like the archaic, like the 1984's, the Brave New Worlds, that stuff. So I wanted to know, before you made the switch, what games were you playing or you high in hold esteem? And then what were those books that were so good? What writers were so great that they took you away?
Yeah, so I used to play World of Warcraft, RuneScape, everything. Oh my God, everything. I had a Dreamcast, a PlayStation 2. My friends had Nintendo, so I was on those. PC games, lots of PC games, especially with World of Warcraft, Rome Total War, BioShock, definitely some Fallout, Call of Duty. Hated Halo, but I loved Call of Duty. And I was such a little gamer, but I had to. Like, I am one of those people that I get addicted to games easily. I still play Animal Crossing because it's definitely like the senior citizen video game of all video games. So I feel it's an emotionally regulated video game that doesn't spike my cortisol or dopamine too much. It's mild. I catch some fish. I garden. It's a really good game. And then books, like for me, like all kinds. I mean, I read some like romance and stuff like that. Like I definitely delved into that stuff in erotica, but I also loved mystery. I also loved sci-fi. Like I was, and I still am so like addicted to Agatha Christie books. I was recently in a bookstore and looking for an old Agatha Christie because it was like an old bookstore and they had antique books and they're like, let me tell you, every time she comes in, like she's off the shelf. I'm like, man, like call me next time. Like, please call me next time because I would love to get like a special edition Agatha Christie book. She was badass. Um, but I really liked some other people like I think Christopher Moore. I loved him. He was just general fiction. He did some interesting books. Like he wrote a religious fiction called Lamb, which was really interesting. It was about like 12-year-old Jesus. But I loved it because he wrote it in such a cheeky way to like make Jesus and his group of friends seem like 12-year-olds and not like Jesus. So like I loved that. That was just like the most avant-garde book I think I've ever read that was fiction. And then he also wrote You Suck, which was a romance and it's a vampire romance. So I really like Christopher Moore in terms of like really out there books. But yeah, I love books. I do read a lot. Currently I am on a friend's book, All That I Ever Knew. And it is so freaking good. It's more of a fiction and it's very like diary style. And I like that. I haven't read like a diary journal style book in a while and it's really personal. So like it feels like I'm reading somebody's journal. Like, ooh, it was spicy.
Funny you said it like that because that's kind of how I read your books. The book that got me into reading, two of them. First was The Heroine Diaries by Nikki Sixx, which was the journals, which got me into nonfiction biographies. And then my teacher suggested Lee Child of the Jack Reacher series. but you start picking up how a writer's writing, and that makes so much sense the way I'm reading your book. Even though you're getting that third person view, it's very much more of a diary entry.
Kind of meant to feel like I tried to have it feel like Ari is sitting with you and smoking a blunt with you and just like telling you what the fuck happened. Like she is just dishing the tea. Like, here's the joint. Maybe I should like put that as like a third wall reference in the thing. It's like, here, let me take the joint for me.
I might got the copyright on the video, but I'm giving you full permission. That's your brand. Here's the joint. Here's,
Right?
here's- Mademoiselle, I always save the most important question for last. What's the best piece of advice someone has given you?
Yeah, so I met an at my first club that I ever danced at. I met a dancer who was older than me, but like really successful. Like this girl only worked once a week and like she was rolling in dough. I think she escorted on the side, maybe had a sugar daddy here or there. But like she barely worked and was killing it. And she was like so long in like the industry in Baltimore, like because that was where I was dancing. She had so many patrons and yeah, like who knows? Maybe back then, like she was also using Snapchat because it was like shortly after like Snapchat and that shit came out. And yeah, like she told me to like not do drugs, not get involved in drama, like don't be drinking at the club. And it's interesting because like even though I'm a huge stoner, one thing I really was glad I did was I would never smoke weed at the club. I would try my damnedest not to drink. Some guys can be a little bit controlling with that, so it can be hard to avoid if they're like dipping their finger in your drink, which is gross. Trying to make sure that you're or sipping your drink to see if it's alcohol. But like she told me, do whatever you can to stay sober in this industry and you will end up doing just fine. And she was right, because like I used to look back and I would worry, I'd be like, man, like what am I gonna be like in my 30s and 40s? It's like I'm 35 now. I'm fine. I'm great. I'm gonna be great in 10 years too. Cause like I take care of my body and I take care of my mental health. So it does make sex work a lot easier for me than someone who doesn't prioritize that and leaves it go for like so many years. I haven't. I'm a big baby. I take care of myself.
And everybody, shout out to the block in Baltimore. Y'all don't understand. We don't judge
Those
here.
are some of the hardest working women in the country.
And it's not always for ridiculous purposes. People are trying to survive. I remember one mother that I worked at Wawa, and she was also working at Wawa, but she was also stripping to pay for school and her kids' education. So, guys, just remember, respect the ladies, tip generously, please. But that was such an amazing conversation. Miss Jade Greene, guys, you can find her on her OnlyFans. Subscribe to the VIP at Green Queen at OnlyFans. You can find her on IG as author Jade Greene, same as X or Twitter. A lot of us still say Twitter, but X would be Jade Greene Books. And then I'm begging you, beseech you, please hit the link for disorderlypublishing.com. You can find all her books right there. And go vote X Biz MILF Streamer, Clip Artist, and MILF Media Star for Miss Jade Greene. Mademoiselle, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for gracing us with your time.
Oh, thank you.
And everybody else, be smart, be mindful. If it's legal in your state, and rock on. Ninja out.
Woo, baby, you listen to John the Ninja. All your ears are about to go on a vacation. John the Ninja's got what you need.